Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're looking at a collection of audio excerpts.
Yeah, specifically from Alex Jones.
Right. And our sources describe him in a few ways: radio talk show host, a conspiracy theorist, also wildly popular.
There's also an MSNBC description that calls him deeply, I think, racist.
Okay, so quite a range. Our aim here, just to be clear, isn't about verifying these labels.
No, not at all. We want to unpack what's actually in these specific audio clips, the topics, the perspectives he's presenting.
Exactly. And there's quite a mix, right? We hear talk about civil war, globalism.
Personal health stuff, media portrayals, reactions to political figures like Trump. It's varied.
Okay, so let's get into it. First up is this pretty significant claim he makes about a civil war against globalism.
Yes. He says quite directly that the U.S., France, and, well, many other nations are in this civil war.
And he adds that even outlets like French news agencies and the AP are supposedly admitting this now.
Which is interesting because he contrasts that with a supposed earlier time when, according to him, the idea of a private, corporate, global government was denied.
So this narrative of a hidden truth being revealed.
Pretty much. The term globalism itself is, loaded. In these contexts, it often implies something sinister, like an attack on national sovereignty, rather than just, say, trade.
Right, less about cooperation, more about control in that view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Claiming mainstream sources now admit it adds to that feeling of validation, perhaps, for listeners who already believe it.
Okay. Now, he shifts gears quite dramatically to a personal health story. Swimming in Barton Creek.
Yeah, he talks about getting an earache, a sore throat afterward.
And he suspects bacteria from urban runoff, even though the water looked clean.
Right. And then he mentions using colloidal silver, says he thinks he's recovering.
And even blames a change in his voice on it. Why share that, do you think? So personal.
Well, it can make him seem more relatable, like he deals with everyday problems too. And mentioning colloidal silver specifically, well, that might connect with listeners who lean towards alternative health remedies, maybe are skeptical of mainstream medicine, builds a bit of common ground.
Makes sense. Then another pivot, this time to his broadcast plans.
Yeah, this is pretty detailed. He's planning major coverage around a Trump address to Congress.
Right, pre-speech, the speech itself, post-speech analysis, listener calls, the whole 9 yards.
And he points out it'll be on Infowars.com, YouTube, Facebook, audio feeds, encouraging affiliates to pick it up, too. Shows the scale of his operation.
He also specifically mentions making the broadcast family-friendly.
Which is notable. He references past times where his style, being teleprompter-free, led him to say things he felt he shouldn't have.
So what's the significance of that family-friendly emphasis, coupled with the big coverage plan?
Could be a few things. Maybe trying to broaden the audience. Or perhaps manage potential backlash given his history.
Or maybe just keep platforms like YouTube happy.
Possibly. Aligning with a big political event like a Trump address definitely guarantees interest and viewership, too. It keeps him relevant in that news cycle.
And this actually leads right into something quite striking. He offers an apology.
An explicit one, yeah, for past on-air behavior. Says he's making a conscious effort not to repeat it.
He links it to how wild current events are, even saying listeners can probably relate to finding it hard to hold back sometimes.
It does feel like a shift, doesn't it, compared to some of the rhetoric he's known for?
Definitely. Why now, do you think? What could be behind that?
Hard to say for sure. Could be genuine self-reflection. Or maybe it's strategic.
Strategic how?
Well, maybe recognizing that extreme language can have downsides, lead to deplatforming or other issues, or perhaps positioning himself as a more, let's say, measured voice in chaotic times.
Interesting. And then almost immediately he's responding to criticism.
Yes, he brings up a Spin magazine article, says it called him a bootlicking scumbag who worships the government.
Because of his support for Trump, right?
That's the connection he makes. And he pushes back hard. Denies being establishment.
How does he frame it?
He argues Trump is the anti-establishment one, citing opposition from Hollywood, the media, banks, other countries.
So by supporting Trump, he sees himself as anti-establishment too.
That seems to be the logic, yes. He says he wants a constitutional republic, so he doesn't have to be enemies with the government. It suggests his ideal alignment isn't the current one.
It really paints a picture of him versus them, the establishment versus the outsiders.
Precisely. It's a core part of that narrative construction.
And thinking about his apology, it contrasts sharply with some past statements, doesn't it? We have that quote, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
Absolutely. That's very inflammatory language. suggesting violence, really.
So placing that kind of statement next to this recent apology, it highlights a real tension or maybe an evolution in his public communication.
It does. It raises questions about what drives these shifts. Is it external pressure, a change in strategy, or something else?
Okay, so just to quickly recap the labels from our sources again.
We have radio talk show host,
Straightforward,
conspiracy theorist,
reflecting the content.
his show name, The Alex Jones Show, and the plug for the free stream at Infowars.com show.
Right. And that MSNBC description, racist.
Yeah, which is a very serious accusation, obviously part of how he's perceived by some. It's a real mix of identifiers.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've touched on quite a bit from just these clips.
Definitely. From grand claims about global civil war to, earaches and broadcast schedules.
And that apology, contrasted with past rhetoric and his pushback against media criticism.
Yeah, seeing that apology alongside his framing of himself as anti-establishment is, well, it's complex.
It really is. Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. When you consider everything we've unpacked, the different claims, the various ways Jones is described, the apparent shifts in his tone, what does this collection of audio tell you about our current media environment? How do figures like this gain traction? And how are different narratives built and perceived?
Yeah, what are the forces shaping how we see individuals and events today? Lots to chew on there.